Hello, real estate friends. It's Dave Stocco, your friend in real estate. Hey, thanks for coming back again for another great video. While I'm thinking about it, why don't you go ahead, if you're liking the content, go ahead and like the video, subscribe. Just get that out of the way right now so we can keep good stuff coming your way. Offers. So you got an offer on your home, you're selling by owner. Congratulations. There's just a couple keys that you should keep in mind when looking at an offer, some details that over the last 10 years I've found super important. Let's talk about them. First, earnest money. Every legitimate offer has to be written, as we know, but it also has to have earnest money. And that could be $1, but to be valid, it has to have earnest money. And what that usually is it's a check made out from the buyer, not to the seller like some people think. I think it's best to be made out to a title company, preferably the title company that you're going to close with, and it should be deposited within 4 business days of when buyer and seller agree. So make sure you get a check, or not you get it, but there is a check deposited with a title company. Verify that it's there. People wonder about how much. I see $500 on some offers. Really, the rule of thumb is 1% of the agreed on sales price. That's usually good earnest money. Usually don't like to see any less than $1,000. It's just not enough skin in the game. So get 1% or more. 1% is usually adequate. And just realize that can become non-refundable to you as the seller at some point. Which brings me to the second point. Number 2, dates. You got to keep in mind the timelines inside of these contracts. There's a few that are important. First is referred to as the due diligence deadline. That's the time in which a buyer can perform their inspections, find all the information that they need to about the property or the area, and then they can present their concerns and you negotiate those back and forth. I want a seller to get through that period quickly so that they can move on and know that their deal looks that much more solid. So my rule, 14 days, no more. I'd love for it to be shorter, but most buyers can get by on 14-day periods in due diligence. So from the time offer is accepted, 14 days. The next date is called the financing and appraisal deadline. And what that is it's the time in which the buyer submits all their loan documentation, the appraisal is done and comes back. And so it's the time by which a borrower should really be far enough along for the lender to say, yes, we're going to give you this loan. The key about the financing and appraisal deadline is it's actually in most contracts when the earnest money goes non-refundable to you as the seller as well. My rule of thumb is 23 days. 23 days gives a buyer enough time to work with their lender to get an appraisal done, get through an inspection, and meet that deadline. After that, you're going to want your buyer's earnest money to go non-refundable to you as a seller so that if they fall out of contract, bang, you're going to take that money, go find another buyer. Final date is the settlement deadline. Forever, since I've been selling real estate, this was always 30 days. Just in the last month, this has now changed with new legislation. It's actually 45 days long. This changes the game in real estate. It's a longer closing process. So plan on 45-day settlements, and it can take longer. So you're just going to have to kind of plan that into your sales strategy. 45 days on that. So just remember those 3 dates. It's pretty easy to think about. 14, 23, 45. Look at the page 5 of the contract, and that's where you'll see those timelines. Finally, let's just talk quickly about concessions. Concessions are anything that a buyer asks a seller to give up. And there's 2 most common ones. The first one that we see in almost every offer is referred to as a home warranty. And that's just a little insurance policy that ensures the buyer that if the water heater fails, furnace fails, they'll pay a small deductible and the home warranty company will pick up the rest. I usually just let people get away with that. Plan on paying for it as the seller. It's about $500 or so. Second common concession, though, is referred to as seller paid closing costs. I won't get into detail about what those are, but the cost of getting a loan isn't free. A buyer has typically saved up their down payment over here, and that might be all the money they have. But over here, they need to go out to a lender and get financing or get a loan. That comes with a certain cost. And if they don't have that money themselves, they're going to need to put that into the offer or get it back from you as the seller. So for example, you may be buying a $200,000 house, but you are going to go and get a loan. That loan, the cost of it could be $5,000 to $6,000. And that's usually the number in the lower price ranges that we think about is typically plan on about 2 to 3% of the purchase price is what the loan costs will be. And they might ask a buyer might ask in their offer you to cover those. And so just realize that that could be built into the offer. So if you keep those things in mind, you should be fine. Keep an eye on earnest money. Keep an eye on those dates. A good offer, in my opinion, should always be, depending on the price point, but within about $10,000 to $15,000 within the list price, if that's a good price. I hope you find this information helpful. Keep coming back for more. Subscribe, baby. We need you here to get this great information. I'm Dave Stocco, your friend in real estate.